Hello and welcome to The Week That Was, a weekly program where you get to sit back and catch up with the headlines of the week. My guest today, Mr. Sujay Gupta, the group editor of Herald Publications, is here to present his insights on the headlines. So we have welcome to the show, and we have with us today a headline that everybody is eagerly waiting to see a quick curtains. That is, Pramod Sawant has to play his second innings as Goa's CM. Now, given that there is a very long period from the time we had elections on February 14th, the results have been declared on March 10th. It's a very long period before which they have decided to take the oath on finally on 28th.
Yes, Dr. Freddy, this is absolutely unprecedented. There will be a 45-day gap between the time that Goans went to the polls on February 14th till the ultimate date of swearing in of the new Chief Minister and the Cabinet, which is now scheduled for February 28th. The March 28th, sorry. The interesting part here is that the delay of the swearing in, the primary cause for this delay or the prolonged period after the counting took place, after the votes were counted, was primarily because the BJP won in all the 4 states which went to the polls, except Chandigarh, of course, except Punjab. They won all the other states. They won Uttar Pradesh, they won Uttarakhand, and they won Manipur. The other 3 states they won, and Goa, of course. Now, when they won these 4 states, they wanted this celebration to be a grand pan-India celebration, primarily to send that message of dominance and an absolute crushing of the opposition, as it were. Okay. Now, the issue is, to send a political message of absolute dominance, they decided to have this grand spectacle of having these, literally these ordination ceremonies of the chief ministers, where the entire top brass of the BJP would go from place to place and crown the respective chief ministers in a very royal style, which is absolutely fine. I mean, there's no harm in doing that. Every party has the right to celebrate it the way they want to. However, the flip side of this is that when you do this, and all the 4 governments have to be sworn in around the same period of time, you can't do it on the same day or even the next day, because taking into account travel and distances and other schedules. So the whole process of the 4 swearing-ins is taking place over a period of almost 10 days. Yeah. Okay. Now, this whole pan-India swearing-in of 4 chief ministers has absolutely been unprecedented. You don't do it in a manner like this. The problem here is that governance absolutely is at a standstill, because the chief minister has resigned, paving way for the new government to take place and to be formed. And in this case, it is him who is going to be the new chief minister. But technically, at this point of time, the state does not really have a chief minister. Yeah. The governor appointed the chief minister on the 21st of March, the new chief, Pramod Sawant, as the next chief minister of Goa. Yeah. And the notification very clearly said that he will be the next chief minister. His appointment is effective from the day he takes oath. Yeah. Now, there is a gap between the day the notification was issued and the day that he's going to finally take oath. Yeah. Though there is a concept of a caretaker chief minister, but here it's a very piquant situation where a notification for the new chief minister has already been appointed. So, whether he's caretaker chief minister or whether he's chief minister designate, so if he's the chief minister designate, he cannot be a functioning chief minister. Yeah. So I'm not saying there's a huge crisis or whatever, but there's a lack of clarity. Yeah. Another thing that we must take into account is the pro tem speaker. Now, uniquely, all the MLAs took oath, not knowing who the leader of the house is going to be. This is again unprecedented. Yeah. Okay. Now, the pro tem speaker, some people might be mistakenly believing that the pro tem speaker has been chosen by the house. There is no kind of house as such. I mean, house has been convened on the 29th. MLAs have been sworn in. Yeah. New assembly has come into place, but all these MLAs did not choose the pro tem speaker, and the pro tem speaker cannot be appointed by the assembly or the cabinet, because there is no cabinet and no assembly at this point of time. Yeah. Okay. So in this case, the pro tem speaker is actually a direct appointee of the governor. It is the governor who's appointed the pro tem speaker to do it, but that's fine. I'm not saying any of this is very unusual. All I'm essentially saying is that this slows down the process of governance, especially in a month where the budget has to be passed. Now there is no budgetary exercise going on. There is no finance minister. It is being, right now preparations are being done by the bureaucrats.
Yeah.
Now the government is going to be sworn in on the 28th. On the 29th, the speaker is going to be elected. The budget will not be passed. A vote on account will be taken on the 30th, 31st. But even for that exercise, you need to study. The MLAs need to study it. The ministers, new ministers need to study it. What will happen is that nobody is going to be doing any study. It will just be passed hurriedly. Yeah. And a vote on account is going to be taken to allow the state to spend. So these are things that are avoidable. I'm not saying it's extremely wrong or this illegal. None of that. It is just that it sets a bad precedent and slows down the governance.
Okay. Moving on the same day, on 22nd, the newspaper, the Herald, there is a very sad story that is carried by the Herald regarding this Chandor boy, John Dias, who was shot at a point blank range in Houston, Texas.
These are sad. See, what happens is this gun culture of America comes to haunt anybody in America. And you can be in a public place and get shot also. The issue is, unfortunately, John Dias from Chandor, a budding young man, a good footballer, a good goalkeeper of the Chandor Football Club, the sole breadwinner of the family, the sole child of his mother. He's lost his father, has no other siblings. Went to America in search of a dream. Managed to establish himself. In fact, he had spoken to his mother of barely a few hours before he was shot, the previous night in fact, where during that conversation he had spoken about his dreams of building a house in Chandor. They have a small house, and he said, I'm going to be coming soon and start work on building my house. So he was kind of building on his dreams, which would have been fulfilled, except that they were brutally cut short in a senseless killing by somebody who just came to his stores. He was a store manager, and he was basically dispensing goods and taking cash and doing the checkouts.
And at this point of time, it is not apparent that there was any motive or there was
no motive. But a guy completely in a hood came up to the counter, took the gun out and shot him point blank. It's so dastardly and shocking. One is absolutely numb with shock. And it's sad, but I also feel that the Goa administration and the government should really quickly get his earthly remains back, so that a proper funeral can take place and he can be put to rest. But it's extremely sad to have our boys going out in search of jobs and a future. Which again brings us back to the point, saying that we should create a situation where people do not need to leave this country desperately in search of livelihoods and money. That's another topic, but I'm just saying that thought always comes when you hear these sad stories.
Yeah. Moving on to Wednesday, the 23rd of March, Herald has a very nice headline, post-poll sucker punch, where the petrol, diesel price and gas prices have gone up. Now, it has not been a headline which has stuck with just one day. It has happened subsequently now on 3 occasions.
That's
where
correct.
the price of petrol and diesel has been hiked. Total of 2.2 rupees 40 paisa it has been hiked, and in installments of 80 paisa each over 4 days.
And look at the situation, and we said post-poll sucker punch deliberately. It was essentially a post-poll sucker punch. It almost seemed as if during the entire election period they kind of held back on these price rises. And then as soon as the polls are over and the governments are in place, you immediately knock people off in 3 installments. Essentially, it's a 2 rupee 40 paisa hike per litre.
Yeah.
And so it is essentially that. So they spread it across 3 days. Nobody has been fooled by this in that sense.
Yeah.
Everybody understands what the motive was. But to hike it, or you be transparent, say, look, the hike is going to be 2 rupees 40 paisa, and we're going to spread it out across a couple of weeks or across. They didn't even do that. They did it in 3 days. I'm saying whatever be the reason, the common man has been really hit very, very hard by this. It's going to lead to a cascading effect in the prices of transportation, food, vegetables, food in restaurants and what have you.
Yeah.
And it just shows that we are in for a very, very tough economic times, and we need to be prepared for it. But let us do understand that the good days have not come, and these are very tough days that we're looking at.
Moving on to 24th of March, that is Friday, we have a story again in the Herald. pending CZMP finalization, the EC for Naushi Marina is kept on hold. Now, this is an old project, and the CM seemed to have put a lid on it by saying that this project was not on. But suddenly you find that, the promoter of this project, Ahoy Marina, has put forth his case before the various authorities, the expert appraisal committee, for instance, in this case, and now it has resurfaced to haunt the locals.
That's correct. The expert appraisal committee of the Ministry of Environment and Forest, they were moved, and what is surprising is that on the 21st of January 2021, the Chief Minister had said that we will not go ahead with this project, apparently bowing down to environment and other concerns, especially of local fishermen who are there. And on the 9th of February 2021, if I'm not completely mistaken, but the government of Goa told the High Court of the decision of the Chief Minister and said that we are not going ahead with the Marina project as of now. So what is surprising is this whole re-kicking of the whole process, how the project proponents are still trying their best. And we do understand that it's a very sensitive area, the Naushi Marina area. It basically spans the San Andre constituency on this side.
Yeah.
And it goes right across the whole Vasco Bay on the other side of Sankwal and Chinchini and all that.
Yeah.
Chikali, sorry, not Chinchini, Chikali and all these places. And this marina is at a very sensitive spot because it's a very sensitive riverine system. It is also the home of the very rare oysters. The window pane oysters are, live and thrive there. It will obviously lead to a lot of ecological disbalance. It is not that the marina has to happen at that very spot. There are other spots in Goa which, where it can happen, where it's not ecologically more damaging. The people of the area, the local MLAs and others have vehemently opposed it. The irony is that there was a committee called the Goenka Committee of local public representatives who really moved heaven and earth to see that this project does not destroy. And ironically, the head of the committee was the then Congress MLA Francis Silvera. Okay, he was a then Congress MLA who led a delegation to the Chief Minister asking for this project to be scrapped. He happens to be a BJP member who's of course just lost the elections, but he's very much a part of the BJP now. A lot of the MLAs cutting across, for instance, Olencio Simoes, who was a Congress candidate in Kortali, he was there. Ramarao Wag was in that committee. Aruna Wag was in the committee. They all leaders of that particular area.
Yeah.
And all of them did that. We really wonder what stand Francis Silvera will take now when he's a member of the BJP on this. But that apart, I think it's a project which needs to be treated with a lot of sensitivity. I think it's a very good decision of to say that you cannot go ahead with it until and unless the coastal zone management plan, because once the coastal zone management plan is finalized and you identify those areas as sensitive riverine areas, then fundamentally it will be difficult to have a project there. So in a way, I'm just glad that there are checks and balances still in the system which can ensure that there is no these loose cannon projects don't fire.
So moving ahead, our final story for this discussion is the story about the drug dealing which is going on the surface and under the surface.
Yes.
The headline reads, "Every day is not a Sunday for accused drug dealer Onoye Lucky." Now he has been in the forefront and in the background and moving back and forth, but still on the drug scene right from 2013.
That's correct. Interestingly, this person, Sunday Onoye Lucky, that is why we punned on the headline, "Every day is not a Sunday." His name is actually Sunday Onoye Lucky. Interestingly, in 2013, there was a Nigerian who was murdered. Okay, his name was Okoye, if I'm not mistaken. He was murdered in 2013. That was a rival gang war between a Goan drug gang and this Nigerian gang. After which the Nigerians followed followed the hearse van which was carrying his body to GMC for post-mortem. At the Okrokero junction, they surrounded the hearse van, took the body out and put the body of their quote-unquote comrade on the streets, saying that unless the killers are found, we will not let this body move. And there were massive writings that happened. This same Sunday Onoye Lucky was, I'm using the word apparently for legal reasons. Apparently he was the leader of the whole team of 51 Nigerians who were accused of writing with, and many of them had attempt to murder and murder charges on them, attempt to murder charges mainly. He was one of them, the prime people against whom attempt to murder charges were pressed. Interestingly, out of the 51 Nigerians and one Ghana national, none of them had passport copies. They all had photocopies of their passport except Sunday Oneoluki. He was the only one who had an original Nigerian passport. After which they should have just detained all of them. They did not detain all of them because none of them had actual documents. So when you detain these Nigerians, which country do you detain to? There's no proof that they're Nigerians without the original passport paper. And they use that loophole to actually stay back. And now what they have done is, and this is something which lawyers tell us and other people tell us, the feedback that we have is that these people use their charge sheets and the FIRs against them literally as their visa papers. Because when they are asked for passports and visas, they say, I have an FIR, I'm filing a case. I'm in the middle of a case. I'm an accused in a case, so I have to be in this country. There's a charge sheet against me, so I'm doing this. For a long time, Goa did not have a detention center for all these people involved in drug trades. So the detention center is there now, but they're still not detaining these people. My point is that these are people who are roaming free. They are getting into different kinds of romantic alliances with Goan girls. They are even marrying Goan women, having children with them, thereby strengthening their presence here, and using all this to run shady rackets. And allegedly, most of them are doing drug deals. The Sunday Oneoluki has been charged of being a drug dealer and being involved in the drug trade, but he's not the only one. There are many of them. Thankfully, they are still in Kolwali jail. Out of the 51, I think about 10 or 15 of them are still in Kolwali jail, which means about 30 odd are still roaming free. Out of which one is the Sunday fellow. That's the grim reality of it all.
Okay, so I'm afraid that we have run out of time, and we hope that you enjoyed this program. And I thank my guest, Mr. Sujay Gupta, Group Editor of Herald Publications, for sharing his insights and information behind the news headlines. We hope to see you back again next week. Thank you for watching The Week That Was.